Good evening. Welcome to The Love on the Cloud, brought to you by St. Louis Media and Entertainment Group. I'm your host, Hersan St. Louis. Today I'm bringing to you a topic that I've been meaning to address for quite some times. It's a topic that many of you here in America, as well as many of you around the world, are very well familiar with. You've heard the news, you've seen the scenes, you've seen the footage, and you've heard the debates. Unless you've been in a coma or living in a different land or in a different planet, I am pretty sure you've heard of the recent attempted assassination of former President Donald J. Trump. But for my part, I'm gonna go a little deeper. I will say the alleged attempted assassination of former President Donald J. Trump. Why do I say the alleged? It is my opinion, and I'm not taking side here. It's not a matter of being conservative or liberal. First of all, I'm not registered as a Republican. I'm not registered as a Democrat. I'm standing in the middle as an independent. But above all, I'm an American, and I'm addressing these issues as American. And what took place that day is it's full of doubt. It is full of doubt. I refuse to believe, based on what I've seen, the footage that I've seen, the analysis that I've heard, and the reaction of the crowd and the former president himself, and the lackluster security measures of the Secret Service. I refuse to believe this was not a premeditated situation. This was a moment of light camera action. It was a shooting. It was a movie. To me, it's not real. Why do I say it's not real? There are many factors that come into play. The location of the shooter. The location of the shooter was way too close to where the former president was standing for the Secret Service and or the law enforcement officers to have not swept that area cleanly to make sure that the life of the former president and current presumed nominee for the Republican Party, for his life to be in that danger and for somebody not to be aware of it. There's absolutely no way. The shooter was too close to where the president was supposed to be speaking at. We're not talking about a 600 yard range. We're not talking about a 1,000-yard range. We're talking about almost right in his face. There's no way the Secret Service that I know of, the men and the women of the Secret Service, the military personnel that was on the scene, and all and all the law enforcement agencies that were there that day, there's no way one shooter could slide into that position to attempt to assassinate the former president. There's no way in heaven or in hell this is possible here in the United States of America unless there was permission to close eyes on that location because something was premeditated. I mean, this is something you don't even see in a movie. After this thing happened, I went home. I watch many movies that has a connection to an attempted assassination of a president. London Has Fallen, and many other great movies. And even in those movies, you cannot see a footage, even though it's a movie, where the producer and the director made the mistake of leaving reasonable doubt in the mind of the viewers to think, oh, this is not real because I could predict this. What took place in Pennsylvania was too predictable. It was way too predictable. There's no way I'm gonna accept that the Secret Service would not do their job the way they normally would do. This was something that no matter what I hear, no matter how much I review it myself, 2 plus 2 is not equaling 4 here. Something is not adding up. Something is not adding up. We're not talking about a civilian here. We're not talking about just any candidate here. We're talking about Donald J. Trump, a president who once before faced similar situation. A president or a former president who have countless enemies or people who dislike him here at home and abroad. At the end of the day, we are the United States of America. We are the United States of America. We have many friends across the world, but we have countless enemies also. And for the Secret Service and other law enforcement agencies and the military to drop the ball so badly that day for the attempted assassination or the alleged attempted assassination of the former president to take place, it's unacceptable. I refuse to accept it. Call me a conspiracy theorist all you want. I know many of you are gonna say, you know what? Yeah, he's a Trump hater. I don't like him, but I don't hate him either. I stand on the side of, common sense. And forgive me if I doubt it, because the former president has proven time and time again that he is a pathological liar. He will create a scenario and a situation, to obtain favors and, empathy. No, forgive me if I don't believe it for 1 minute. Forgive me if I don't believe it for 1 minute. But this is not real. This is not something you can even see in a movie or a dream. That's number one. Number two, the Secret Service and other law enforcement agencies were not aware that there was a shooter. How did they react so quickly to take him out? How could they have possibly been aware of the location of the shooter in less than 3 seconds to take him out? By the time former President Donald J. Trump ducked, that shooter was taken out. If this is something that you're not aware of, if this is something that was not premeditated, if it wasn't planned, and you were not aware there was a shooter in the vicinity, how do you have the time to turn around the barrel of your gun or your rifle to the direction of where the shooter was? Now, I've never been in the Army. I never served in any armed forces. But believe it or not, if you're not aware of anything, you need more than 5 seconds, let alone 3 seconds or less. That shooter was shot instantaneously. That shooter was shot almost at the same moment that he pulled his own trigger. How could you have known exactly what the location was? And unless that shooter was stupid too, how could you expose yourself to law enforcement so easily? Something is not right here. Something is not adding up. It's unfortunate as American that we have to take this into account on our own soil. It's unfortunate that such an attempt could have taken place against a man of the law, a candidate, a former president. But again, it is fishy to me. It is fishy to me. It's not making sense. And the president's behavior is a whole other topic. The president got shot at. Almost immediately, the shooter, before he could even shot a second bullet, was taken out. So if the FBI or the Secret Service or the military or other law enforcement officers or agencies that were in the area that day, if they were able to take this man out so rapidly, why could they not predict that there was someone there that was going to do that? If you were able to turn around, take a shot at this man and take him out so quickly, why couldn't you prevent him from even pulling the trigger the first time? It's not making sense. It's not making sense. And I think, in my opinion, there should be an independent investigation launched into that alleged attempted assassination. There should be an independent investigation on it. Will it happen? I highly doubt it. Because an independent investigation, what it will do, it will reveal that, this was a manufactured scenario. It will reveal that, there are many people, who accepted to take part into this shameful thing that took place in Pennsylvania. So forgive me again if I refuse to believe it. Scenario number 3. The president got shot at. Allegedly, they attempted to assassinate the president. He's on the ground. Secret Service stormed him, covering him on the ground. In my opinion and in my experience around shooting and hearing, bullets flying left and right, or even one shot, we don't know how many shooters that there in the area. We don't know where the shooter is located at. We don't know how many bullets is coming toward people. The crowd should be running and screaming. So the former president got shot at. Someone who sat directly behind him, instead of screaming and running, had the presence of mind, to calmly pull out the phone and start recording without moving from her seat. I don't know who she is. But Jesus Christ, you must be the calmest person in the history of humanity. The calmest person in the history of humanity. Bullets are flying left and right. The president got hit. Secret Service stormed the place. They screaming for the president to stay on the ground. And you have the presence of mind to pull out your phone and start recording. Calmly start recording like it was a birthday party. It was a kid who was hitting a piñata and you're recording it for memory. Boom! The piñata is broken, candy's all over the place, and mother or godmother pull out the phone and start recording. This is a matter of life and death. This is what you call the survival of the fittest. This is what, when people start running for their life. You start running. You don't look behind. And you pull out your phone like nothing happened and you start recording. So now, do you see the reason why I refuse to believe this is real? This is the reason why I said this is light camera action. Because it's not making sense. And at that same token, and this is the reason why I say law enforcement agencies, Secret Service, the FBI, all the bodies that was supposed to be composed of the security detail of the president, they failed miserably. After that shot was fired, the president is under control. You should have evacuated the area to prevent more casualties. The area should have been cleared out. No one should have been in the vicinity of the president. Let's just say, for the sake of this, I can't even find the words. Let's just say for a moment, okay, what took place was real, not a movie. Again, that's my opinion. It was a movie. It could be your opinion. It was real. My personal opinion, this was staged. So now let's say it wasn't staged and that the president really got shot at. The attempted assassination was real. Why would you allow this person to sit there after the president got shot at? This person, you allowed that person to sit there recording, not knowing the full identity of the person for real, unless you knew the full identity of the person for real. What if that person, okay, what if that person was a criminal in disguise? What if that person was part of the plot to assassinate the president? This is the reason why when these things happen, the whole area is evacuated right away. You don't take chances. I don't care if you're a supporter. I don't care if you're a donor. I don't care if you are, God to the former president. Ma'am, sir, you have to leave the premise. You have to evacuate the area right away. And it's an order. You don't want to evacuate the area? Guess what? I'm shuffling you out by force. Because the one thing that mattered to me at that moment is the life of that man. Not the memory you want to make, not how you want to be, famous and a TV celebrity for 5 minutes, in a chaotic moment. I don't care. You are evacuating this area. You're evacuating the premise so we can secure the safety of the president. None of that was done. They allowed the lady to sit there and film, record, whatever the case, whatever we want to call it. Whatever we want to call it. This lady was allowed to sit there and do what he needed to do. Or what she needed to do. I could care less right now. It's not making sense. And where, to me, the biggest mistake happened, where to me, things happened to make me think or imagine or believe that this was light camera action. It was a movie scene, is what happened after the Secret Service got the president to his feet. For crying out loud. The man is bleeding from his ears. The man, he just faced an attempted or an alleged attempted assassination. You allow him, as a security detail, to get back on his feet, expose his face wide open, his chest, putting his fist up for more than 3 to 5 seconds, pumping his fist in the air, claiming victory. As his security detail personnel, you allow him to expose himself for another shot. What if there was more than one shooter in that area that day? What if there was more than one shooter? What if there were more enemies in the crowd that was ready and willing to take him out? At that moment, the former president should have not been allowed to fully stand back on his feet and then expose his head, face, head, chest, whatever body part that it was, for a second shot. Secret Service failed their job miserably that day. They failed their job miserably. Had there been another shooter, this man could have been killed because you didn't do your job of protecting him. Unless, and I'm going to repeat it again, unless you receive clear and precise instructions prior to allow him to do that. You receive clear and precise instructions that what was taking place was not real, and for him to stand up and the same thing that he did in Washington, D.C. in front of the church, to do the Photoshop, the photo shoot that he went and do in front of the church with the Bible. And this time around, he was doing it with a bullet. Unless you knew about that. Come on, people. There's no way in hell if this man was under an attack, was under an attempt for an assassination, that the Secret Service should have allowed him to stand up on his feet, face the crowd, pumping his fist, claiming victory, claiming victory while he was still in great danger. Like they do in movie scenes and like they do in real life. You surrounded the man, whether he wants it or not. You force his head down to stay low. You force his head down to stay low. You have a core of law enforcement personnel that is surrounding him and walk him to his car. When you walk him to his car, Mr. President, this is gonna be rough, but I gotta shove you in. Mr. President, brace for this. It's gonna be rough. I gotta get you out of here. Your life is in great danger. You just got shot at. We don't know how many perpetrators that are in the area. We don't even know if the one that pulled the trigger is dead or alive. We don't need to know that. All we know is we got to get you to safety. We've got to get you to safety no matter what. And then we'll deal with the rest after we know that you're safe. The man walked from the podium, pumping his fist, got to his motorcade, pumping his fist, turned around before he got into the car, facing the crowd, not knowing how many enemies or partisans are in the crowd, pumping his fist, making gestures, exposing his head, exposing his chest for another shot. And the Secret Service did absolutely nothing to force him not to do that, to reprimand him from doing that. I mean, to restrict him from doing that. The Secret Service did absolutely nothing, and nothing at all. Had there been another shooter, law enforcement agencies like the Secret Service, the FBI, and local police agencies in Pennsylvania would have been responsible for the death of a former president and current candidate for the GOP party. I'm not here to make friends. Call me a conspiracy theorist. I'm gonna have enemies after this. I could care less. But all I know is you did not give me any reason to believe that what took place that day was at all real. It was not real to me. Why would you allow the man to stand up and face another bullet, knowing well that he just got shot at, and you are you are not fully knowing that that there are other people in the crowd that's trying to take him out. I can't even speak right now. You have no knowledge of how many shooters, because if you knew, you would have not allowed even that one shooter to be where he was at. The fact that you allowed that one shooter to be in that position basically translate into not knowing at all whether or not there was a shooter, let alone knowing if there would be or there were multiple shooters in that area. Again, I'm gonna repeat it again. Unless you were briefed, unless you received precise instructions and clear details of what was about to happen. The other situation that creates doubts in my mind is the way the president got hit in the ear. If you get hit in a bullet in the ear, partially or fully, that's not the little damage that's gonna do. It's gonna do greater damage than what I saw. Yes, the president was bleeding. Yes, there was blood. Again, I'm gonna be a conspiracy theorist for those who's gonna call me that. What is to say that it was the president's blood for real? I refuse to believe this was not a movie scene. So I refuse to believe that the president really got hit in the ear. Why do I say that? A few days ago, I watched the president going around campaigning with a Band-Aid in his ear. And soon after that, I saw him without the Band-Aid. And believe me, the camera zoomed in very well on the ear. We could not see no mark. A man just got shot a couple of weeks ago in his ear, or got shot at and got hit in the ear, whatever the way we want to put it. And a few weeks later, no scar. The scar's gone, magically disappeared. But 24 hours prior, you had a Band-Aid on. I don't get it. Explain it to me. I don't get it. So, again, forgive me if I refuse to believe it. Forgive me if I say it's not making sense to me. I'm entitled to my opinion. You're entitled to yours. I'm open to questions. I'm open to debate it. I'm open for a debate. But again, I'm gonna say it again and again. I refuse to believe this was not a propaganda. I refuse to believe that this was not a sentimental moment, to obtain favors and empathy from voters. That was a moment to rally his base around him, saying that we're gonna vote for him, and those who are undecided to say, you know what, we're gonna vote for him because the man almost lost his life fighting for America. Forgive me if I don't believe it. Forgive me if I don't believe it. And I'm gonna repeat it again. To me, this was nothing but a movie scene in an attempt to obtain vote in November. This is a man who's craving attention. This is the action of a man who's craving attention, who's crying for empathy. man who's crying for sympathy. I refuse to believe this was real. Now, in the event that this was a real movie, it was a light camera action situation for real, this is where many of you are gonna hate me, many of you who support him, MAGA lovers, or Donald Trump supporters, or Republicans, or conservative, whatever you want to use as an attribute. This is where you're gonna hate me. If indeed this was a light camera action situation, and earlier in the recording, earlier in the conversation, I said there should be an independent investigation that is launched into look into the situation. If in fact that investigation were to reveal that this was a light camera action moment, there should be criminal charges. There should be criminal charges. Why do I say there should be criminal charges? There are two reasons why I say there should be criminal charges. Reason number one, an innocent partisan was killed that day. Killed in the function of a civic duty. That person was supporting a candidate. That person left home to come and support a candidate and did not make it back home because of a wicked and vicious way of someone who was trying to have it his way. If in fact this was premeditated and that person ended up dying, at the very least, I'm gonna say it, and this is where the controversy is gonna start. At the very least, former president, current candidate Donald J. Trump should at least be faced with charges. Accomplice to murder, accessory to murder, you name it. Because if in fact he knew, he orchestrated this so-called attempted murder in a way for him to gain popularity and gain vote in November, that person who died that day died on his watch and died under his command. The Secret Service or law enforcement agent personnel who shot the man that was on the roof, the alleged attempted assassin, the person who shot that man should be brought up on murder charges. Should be brought up on murder charges. Because your reckless, unprofessional, inhumane, and partisan behavior make you violate the oath that you took to serve and protect. And instead of serving and protect, you obey and destroy life. You took a life. You took a life of an alleged assassin and a partisan, innocent American die that day. 2 lives were lost. 2 lives. Now, I don't know who shot the supporter in the crowd. I don't know if it was a shooter or if it was law enforcement. For all that I know, if the independent investigation reveal that what took place in Pennsylvania during that campaign rally was premeditated, as it looked to have been premeditated, there will be 1,000 questions to be answered. And guess what? The testimony of former president and current candidate Donald J. Trump would be very essential to finding out what happened that day. Again, it's been a long time coming. I've been playing these scenes in my head over and over again. I've been looking for answers. I've been trying to understand the moral behind what took place that day. And the further and the deeper I look into it, and every single time, I got the same answer. To borrow the word of the former president, that day, everything that took place, with the exception of the 2 individuals who died that day, everything else was fake. Everything else was fake. There will be endless debates about what took place that day. There will be endless debates. And believe me, what took place in Pennsylvania in July, what took place in Pennsylvania in July, okay, is the pavement for the walking ground that is the pavement that the president is laying down to walk to the voting booth in November, because it was nothing but an attempt to obtain favors, vote, sympathy, empathy, and you name it, from voters. And that behavior is more criminal than anything else I could imagine. To me, this is quite similar to a murder for hire. Again, in my humble opinion, that's my take on it. You don't have to support what I say. You don't have to see it my way. But this is absolutely crazy and unacceptable. Thank you for spending time with me. Thank you for hearing my part of it. I'd love to hear your take on it. You could comment. Let's debate it. Again, this is my opinion, not yours, but I'd love to hear yours. I'd love to see and hear your take on it. Join me. Follow the love on the cloud. Subscribe. Share with your friends. Comment. Give your opinion. Because when you have something to say, silence is a lie. This is Herson St. Louis for the Love on the Cloud, brought to you by St. Louis Media and Entertainment Group. Until next time.